Namanda, 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 namanda.
Next, please rise if you are able for the reading of the Golden Chain by Sensei Kelvin, followed by a Dharma message by Sensei Kelvin.
Namanda, namanda, namanda. Please join me in reciting the Golden Chain found on page 5 of our Purple Service Book. Golden Chain. I am a link in Amita's golden chain of love that stretches around the world. I will keep my link bright and strong. I will be kind and gentle to every living thing and protect all who are weaker than myself. I will think pure and beautiful thoughts, say pure and beautiful words, and do pure and beautiful deeds. May every link in Amita's golden chain of love be bright and strong, and may we all attain perfect peace. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda, namanda. Please be seated. Ohio. Good morning, and not Ohio State. Not that there's anything wrong with that for you college football fans. With palms pressed together, please join me in Gassho. If one walks looking far ahead and pays no attention to the ground beneath his feet, he will stumble. If one gazes critically upon others and forgets to look into himself, he will bring tragedy upon himself. Such is the teaching of our 8th abbot, Renyo Shonin. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda, namanda, namanda. Well, thank you for joining us this second Sunday of January 2025. Thank you, Ron Ishimoto, for broadcasting our Dharma message and sharing around the world. Thank you, Dr. Shannon, for chairing this morning's service. Sensei Grace, much appreciated to help open the temple, shape our Bupan, and ringing the Kansho bell with such energy to call us to service. Sensei Keith is off checking on family. He's been helping to keep our northern district well cared for. And Team Betsuin continues to be as active as ever. Yuki Sensei is taking care of the Mountain View Temple, and Sensei Matt is sharing the New Year's message at Placer. Our emeritus Rinban, Reverend Bob Oshta, and Reverend Patty Oshta, who served as chaplains to our California State Legislature during the 2016-2020 term, have been asked to serve a record second term, providing spiritual guidance to our California state lawmakers. Sensei Koichi Mizushima and our Bazaar Steering Committee have been reviewing and planning our 79th annual Summer Bazaar and Cultural Fair that will take place in August. With the inspiration of Yuki Sensei's Roadmap of Fun, F-U-N, friendship, understanding, and Nembutsu, for walking the Pure Land Path, this onenju, made of golf balls, is made to represent an invitation to you to join the Buddhist Church of Sacramento Golf Club under the direction of Sangha member Matt Nita. So all you need to know is that we golf not because we are good, we golf because it is fun. This past week, I have been away providing pediatric anesthesia at the Valley Children's Hospital in Madera near Fresno. hard is it to imagine that we are already 12 days into the new year. Each day, however, we gain 2 more precious minutes of daylight and more time to play golf. Are memories of school vacations still fresh? If, like me, we had a chance to momentarily step off the gas pedal from life speed and shift into cruise control mode and take in a bit of motion picture magic. So I just wanted to cue up. This is the first time, incidentally, that I've tried to use a little tech action here. I figure I've got to adjust with the rolling times here. So let's see if we can cue this up. And, is this character familiar to anyone? Yeah? Without giving the, well, let's see, let's try this. For those who are not in the know, how about now? Closer, right? How about now? Yeah? So without giving the plot away to this Broadway musical screen adaptation, we are treated to the backstory of a frenemy relationship between the Wizard of Oz heroines, Glinda the Good Witch, and Elphaba, also known as the Wicked Witch of the West. In a nutshell, girl meets girl, girl hates girl, girl friends girl, girl meets boy likes other girl likes other boy, girl hates other girl and girl become best friends forever. It goes something like that. But actually there is a figurative heartthrob of a prince named Fiyero, who is introduced as a personable, magnetic, he's a good time party boy, and socially influential leader. We would call him a bonhomme, if you will. And he's an only child of a well-to-do family who professes living mindlessly and existing without care. Though likely unintentional, the similarities between Fiyero and the legend of the historical Shakyamuni Buddha are hard to ignore. Both live shielded from unpleasantness. Both are isolated from introspection. And both are intentionally distracted from self-examination. Yet, as the story of Wicked evolves, we see each main character looking outward with an incorrect view. And we see the consequences that follow, each player looking far ahead instead of paying attention to the ground beneath their feet. Characters looking backward instead of appreciating the present and the cause and consequence of their friendships, choices, and life events that evolve. Gradually, we see an otherwise superficial Fiyero begin to question. He starts to look inward, to self-reflect, and to critically self-examine. What emerges from such change is a thoughtfully complex hero. Fiyero develops from the shell of his life, and he becomes more free of self-indulgence. He transforms from superficial self-centeredness, and he becomes someone worth friending and someone worth hearing. In other words, Fiyero transforms to become a leader worth following. Is Wicked creative art imitating life, or is it life imitating art? Sometimes such a question is hard to answer. Similarly, The early life of the historical Shakyamuni Buddha could be described as having begun his life with a view through the lens of an unexamined life. His father, the king, set young Prince Siddhartha upon a life direction of gratification and power, sheltered from the sufferings of life. According to legend, Queen Maya died shortly after giving birth to the prince. The king, in his despair, wished to shield the heir to the Shakya throne from discomfort. During Prince Siddhartha's young life, the king sought to prevent the prince from responding to questions pondering the meaning of existence or the meaning of true happiness within the Shakya kingdom. Instead, the young prince grew to become a keen observer of human behavior. Unattaching himself from his inheritance and moderating the want of material goods, Siddhartha, now a young man living and studying a monastic life, walked the land, relying on the kindness and generosity of others who put coins and food in a small bowl of alms for him to live. Evolving, questioning, and observing, Siddhartha the monk, Siddhartha the student, Siddhartha the true human being, would transform through enlightenment to become the Shakyamuni Buddha, who spoke of what he saw in order to share with Sangha, to guide across continents, and to speak to us today. So it should seem only sensible that the first teaching when walking the Eightfold Path is correct view. It would seem that when one's view is correct, so can naturally follow the correct thought, speech, and action. Just this week, in the middle of a serene Southern California winter, the unimaginable has happened. This is the beautiful coastline of Malibu, California. The very next day, the unimaginable occurs. A wildfire fed by overgrown brush, long ignored deadfall, and high winds has begun to ravenously consume everything in its path. Rich and poor, high and low, educated and not, able-bodied and less so, the wildfire has shown no discrimination. No matter if grown by nature or built by humankind, as we meet, the fires continue to consume animals, homes, memories, and lives. Our fellow Sangha member at the Pasadena Buddhist Church sends this message to us, and this image of Gibbs Sensei and his family. Stacy Camara writes, "We are still standing. The Eaton fire began on the night of January 7th in Eaton Canyon, located about 4 miles northeast of the temple. Fanned by the Santa Ana winds, the fire quickly grew, and by January 8th, flying embers were sparking fires throughout Altadena and the neighboring streets. The Gibbs family safely evacuated the parsonage that night. The Eaton fire is still not contained, but for now, the fire seems to be moving away from the temple. We are beyond grateful to our neighbors on Montana Street behind the temple. While houses were burning on their street, they climbed over our fence and put out burning embers in our temple garden, watering down the area. Our temple co-president and a couple of our Sons of the Gardeners volunteers and Reverend Gibbs returned to unlock the temple parking lot gate and found them working and helping them to water down the smoking embers beneath the Hondo portico and some of the tea garden structures. They returned January 9th to check on the temple and took this photo. You can see the smoke to the upper right. Sadly, we have already heard of at least 5 members of the temple and friends who have lost their houses to this fire. We appreciate so much all the good wishes and concern that you have shared with us via social media, texts, and calls. Namo Amida Butsu. Stacy Camara, for those of you who remember, Stacy is daughter to Reverend Tetz Uno, one of our most meaningful teachers. Viewing these images from Southern California, all the while recalling our teacher, Hironaka Sensei from Lahaina, it's hard to imagine and comprehend this kind of devastation. How difficult it is to comprehend that within moments, the material history of the Hironaka family had turned to ashes. Hard is it to imagine how little we humans have learned. How can we not sit and quietly contemplate the commentary of our 8th abbot, Renyo Shonin, on the sadness of loss and the impermanence of life when eyes close forever and we have no choice but to be separated from those whom we love? We build modern structures of timber, glass, steel, and concrete, yet humankind continues to selfishly view that what we construct and where we build can be mightier or more clever than nature. Neighborhoods and cities grow atop floodplains, upon soil that migrates with the movement of the earth's crust, and along the ocean side, while foolishly we fail to see what is directly in front of us. In contrast, when we build our lives with Dharma eyes open, with a correct view, that when we cultivate an existence centered upon the 3 treasures, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, and when we understand that nothing stays the same, that life is constantly changing, and that all things intertwine deeply in the karmic fabric of life, then we cannot help but think, speak, and act correctly. In such times of unimaginable loss and upheaval, as we experience right now, we see with Dharma eyes open and hear with Dharma ears listening, no less than the call to awaken. To acknowledge that we are not separate from the land and skies, from the oceans or environment, nor are we separate from one another. To lift the veil of selfishness and instead open our eyes to the infinite light of Amitabha. Amitabha, the seed of wisdom, and to cultivate this seed and embrace the wisdom of a constantly changing life. And at the same time, to rouse from ignorance and more fully experience the infinite life of Amitayus. Amitayus, to be wrapped in the mantle of interdependence, and with gratitude, to take refuge in the feeling of oneness. Long ago in India, the Buddha asked the question, if life is constant change, if karma is interdependence, how shall I choose to live, knowing that I live, I exist as the result of the countless sacrifices, caring, and kindness of others? Asked another way, how shall I choose to live the examined life? In response, in moving forward by turning the wheel of Dharma and looking at the ground beneath our feet, we see that our lives are deeply rooted like a beautiful flower in a garden, which is able to live, thrive, and blossom because of nutrient-rich soil and air, and receiving sunshine from families and friends and Sangha. The Buddha asks, what livelihood, effort, mindfulness, and meditation shall we express in living the most of this one precious and unrepeatable life? Shinran Shonin, as a 9-year-old boy, asked the same question. Sensei paused and responded with this poem. Cherry blossoms that are felt to last until tomorrow may well blow away in the night. Over time, Master's understanding grew, and he went on to say, I choose to live with gratitude. I choose to unattach, to let go, and instead to give care for all those whose lives bring meaning to my own. In closing, please join me in Gasho. The Dalai Lama first visited Sacramento and our California State Legislature in 2016, and he taught, our karmic circumstances are innumerable. Fortunate are we to live because of the sacrifices of countless other lives and beings. So let us not waste our precious opportunity to live this human life with thought and care. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda, namanda, namanda.